Welcome to another episode of the Family Business Podcast with the Alessis, where we talk about things we cannot talk about on Sunday. And we love to talk about families being everybody's business.
Very good, Mary Alessi.
It was a little. Not as good as you do it, but I did it.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Oh my goodness. Date night.
Oh, really?
Romance and marriage.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about that?
We are. This is actually the questions podcast where people are able to go in and send us questions.
These are some of the questions they sent.
These are some of the questions that they sent. And you can send us some of those questions at the AlessiFamilyBusiness.com website.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That you could send your questions in, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts that I don't necessarily like the topic they're talking about. And even though I like the person, I'm like, this is really cool that we're doing this.
Yeah.
So if they have questions, if you have questions, send them in.
We have active listeners.
We do.
It's really nice.
Very good.
I love it.
Very proud of what we're doing.
Yep. And since we can't always deal with these things on Sunday, which is when we greet the crowd, we are able to do it right here during our podcast. So
we get into the nitty-gritty of things.
This one's going to focus now, because it's family, on the marriage, on the relationship that you and I have. How we doing with that?
How many years have we been married?
You tell me.
Is this 34?
34 in October.
Yes, it's coming up on 34 in October, just a few months away. I think we're doing great.
Gosh, that's a lifetime.
I love you more today than I did yesterday.
Yes.
That was the song from our wedding, but whatever.
Cool. So here's a question that somebody wants to ask us. Here's the question.
Okay.
Now, remember, we work together.
Oh, boy.
We live together.
Oh, yeah.
All right?
All of it.
And we got a nice-sized family.
4 kids.
Okay. Here's the question. What to do when family issues leak into your marriage?
Oh, boy.
What do we do?
What have we done?
What are some of the family issues that we have had to deal with over the years that have had the tendency to leak into our marriage?
Well, we've had parental issues that have leaked in when we first got married. And even from great parents like we had to learn to manage those.
Yep.
Dealing with my mom and dad's divorce when we first got married was really hard.
Yep.
My mom and I talk regularly when we get together about those years and how she had so many fears from her situation that she projected into my life. And she's been so open about how wrong that was. So there's, been that. I think also, just when you're raising kids, your perspective of how those kids should be raised, raising children is a real mountain for parents. That's when you really start to decide, even in the little things, if we agree on how we should raise these kids.
Yeah.
And then as they get older, oh boy.
And the stress of what we do in our business.
Oh, yeah.
In the ministry.
Yeah.
Running church, staff, because we take everything that we do here, we take it home. So the question is, how do we keep it from leaking into our marriage?
Yeah. I will say we've learned along the way. We did not get this from jump. We have figured it out along the way. And I like to say this whenever I'm on this podcast, we stay in the seat of students and learners. And we try never to reach this plateau that we know it all, and we aren't counselors or psychologists, but we've learned a lot from ministry and watching what people do that we like, what people do that we're like, well, that don't work, and applying those things to our lives. And for our relationship, we've had to do that in different categories, even in working together, understanding that we communicate differently, completely differently. And I could say green and you hear red, and you could say blue and I hear pink. And we had to learn, if we're going to work together and be like-minded in this, that there were certain roles that we had to fulfill. And I can only speak for me. You cut me off at any time. But when we first started the church together, I had a job downtown, and then we worked for your mom and dad, and I had the music, and you administrated the church. You were the co-pastor with your dad. But when we started our church together and we were the pastors, the expectations completely changed.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the memo. I didn't understand. Oh, your coffee's here. Oh, good. So I didn't get the memo that serving you coffee would have been a nice gesture. No, I'm just kidding. Marcus
is delivering coffee.
The man.
And he's going to charge my computer here. Go for it.
And he's our number one fan. Did you know that? He's our top listener.
He is.
Because our staff is forced to listen to our podcast. Okay.
Yes.
While he's doing that and setting you up, we love you, Marcus. I will say that working together, if I could go back and I could have learned from my mistakes in the event of working together. Oh, there's Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Oh. She's here too. It would probably be to be wife at home and coworker, employee in the office, and not try to be wife in the office.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me. I was so immature. I did not realize that I had to separate those two roles. I could be wife at home, but when I came to work, I had to put on the hat of serving and working and getting your laptop charger for you.
Yeah.
The little things.
Seriously,
though, that's something that I got hung up on when we first started. I did not, I just wanted it to be, I'm Mary and you're Steve, and you're not going to talk to me that way. And my husband's never. I didn't realize that separating those lines when we're in the office, taking on more of a professional mindset. And I don't have to be that at home, but at work, I have to be professional.
Yeah.
I wish I'd learned that earlier, because it definitely brought conflict to our marriage because we couldn't deal with it in the office. We dealt with it on the drive home.
Yeah. And I remember, just from a working perspective, I had to make a decision. What do I want?
Yeah.
Do I want a employee at home, or do I want a wife at home?
Right.
And I learned real quick that a happy wife was so much better than an employee at home. So I needed to treat you like my wife, even though we work together.
Right.
And not overwhelm the relationship because it's a working relationship.
Sure.
The working relationship was the husband and wife. And we couldn't change that. We could change the employment relationship, meaning that if the church got in a financial position where we couldn't both be hired, or you were done, you were tired with doing what you did with the music, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. We could change that part of the relationship. Or, hey, I don't want to do this job anymore, Mary. I'm done with this. I'm giving it to so-and-so to do. I can change those job responsibilities with the employee setup. But I couldn't change the marital one.
No.
That one, we're like, no, that one's going to be a keeper.
Right.
We got to keep that one. So we had to say, even though we were driven for success and accomplishment, when we were working together, we also had to say, wait a minute, the success of this ministry is not near as important as the success of our marriage.
Right.
So quit being so heavy, so hard, so pressure filled. We don't need that, because, as they say, a happy wife,
happy life.
Yep. So that helped us. We had to say from the work, let's not let it leak into our marriage.
Yeah.
And
but it was a struggle.
Oh, yes, it was. Again, 34 years.
Right. And we've worked together. How old is the church? 23.
24. Yeah.
24. And we've worked together. We're coming up on 24. We've worked together since day one. So we've been co-workers on staff together for 24 years. Prior to that, about 8 or 9 years together?
Yeah.
And that was different because
all we've known is each other working.
All we've ever known is working together. And I had my own office, and you had your own job description, and we had a boss.
Oh, that was the worst.
And that was hard. That was your mom and dad.
And I felt the pressure of making sure you were a perfect employee, and put so much pressure on you and on the relationship, where, again, I had to make a decision. Wait a minute, man, I want a happier wife than I do a happier dad and mom.
That's right. And that's where we had to apply what we taught our kids, and we are teaching our kids, that the voices of mom and dad, once you're married, this is to protect your marriage and that role in union. It's what you two think together. It's not you can't just keep trying to please dad or try to please mom. That's going to hurt and erode your relationship.
Yeah. You know, John Roman's in here, and him and his wife work together in the ministry. John and Jackie.
How many years now, John?
Yeah.
I've been on staff 20 years, and she's been with us 15.
Yeah.
So they work together. They raise kids together here at
just
the
like
church.
We did. They are homeschooled.
They have to be very sensitive about making sure things don't overlap into their marriage.
Right.
Armando, though his wife's not here every day, he does have that, where he's got to make sure when he goes home and she shows up to church on Sunday, they're happy.
Right.
So he can't let things leak into their marriage. Chris and Rochelle right now, they're all in this.
Yeah.
Especially as we work together. It is going to be harder working together.
Oh, it is.
And living together, being married. But the good boundaries will help protect the marriage so that whatever's going on outside doesn't leak into the marriage.
Okay, I want to say this because I think this applies to whether or not you work together or you don't. But something that you taught a couple of our staff members that has really been a policy of our church, that if you work for our church, don't go home and share with your partner, your spouse, any negatives that happen in the office. Leave that at the office. Don't take it home because they have to go to this church too.
Yeah.
And you don't want what happened in the day, your frustrations, things that you may get confused or misconstrued, or maybe your correction was wrong. I mean, whatever it is.
Okay, get specific because this is really good advice here. It's wisdom.
Yes.
The point is your husband or wife works at the church that you attend or works at a company
or
that you
yes.
want to be serviced by.
Right.
And then that spouse of yours that works for him comes home.
Right.
And
dumps on you.
We're telling them to not do what?
Don't talk bad about your workplace.
Yeah.
Do not discuss it. You know, the truth is...
Why?
Well, because you'll turn their heart and you're going to get over it. You're going to deal with it.
And then from the church's perspective, it's so bad because this is the place you're supposed to be going to get spiritually fed and nourished.
Right. And you cut them off from
You're mad at the pastor. You're mad at the worship leader because during the week you had a disagreement. And then you show up to church and you've got this prejudice in your heart, an argument against them. And you're like, wow, I can't receive from them.
You can't receive. You cut that off. I will say we've been very blessed with staff that have taken you at that word. And they've done that. And they're very honoring of that because that's the last thing they want. They also have to cut off, this is my job, but it's also my place of ministry and my place of blessing.
Yeah.
And it's God's mouthpiece in my life is my pastor and my boss. Mm-hmm. So it can be done. You can separate those things. So now move that into, okay, you don't work for the church, but you and your spouse work side by side in something. Leave it at the workplace. Don't bring it home. There has to be a separation between we work together and then we live together. And really clear lines. You had it. We started drawing those lines a few years into our relationship. It got tough. We were talking about this the other night, how it's so easy to spend so much energy discussing as a married couple all the negative things that are happening during the day. Mm-hmm. And then there's nothing left for you together as husband and wife.
Yeah.
Because you've just eaten up all this energy and all this time. And we were saying this in the car going home, for every minute you spend slicing and dicing the negative of the job or the workplace or whatever it is you're working on together is a minute that you are subtracting and taking away from vision building and dreaming together. Mm-hmm. And this, when you're negative all the time, even if you're in agreement, you know, you're chewing it up at night and we need to tell her this and she needs to fix that and we got to fix this structure and that's got to change and you need to get better with this and you need to get better with that. All of that does is erode a positive atmosphere in your home and in your bedroom. Mm-hmm. And then you don't get to turn it off. And then how do you turn romance on? Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do. The human mind is not equipped to do that. Yeah. But this leads to all kinds of stress and frustration and irritation, which could lead to even your relationship will get lost in it. Whereas the other brings unity, brings joy, brings peace, brings excitement, and you're not so focused on the negative because you're dreaming about tomorrow. Yeah. But you have to intentionally say, okay, we've talked about it too long. You've done that for years. We're done.
Yep.
We're done. We've talked about it enough. Moving on.
Got it. Yeah, so important, Mary. And that's all such great advice. Yeah. We can go on and on. Matter of fact, I think this requires just another podcast in itself. Yeah. How to protect that marriage. Because I guess the answer to that question, how to keep the life's issues from leaking into your marriage, is you protect the marriage. Yeah,
and roles.
And all those problems are going to be there when you're
that's right.
when you wake up the
marriage
next
day.
Is first. Okay, which then brings us to this. You mentioned romance. And one question was, how do you keep romance flowing with so much going on with such a big family?
Wow. I'm answering this question first.
Yeah, I like being
You're putting me on the spot.
Yes. Thank you, whoever asked that question. I want to hear it from Mary herself. How do you keep the romance, Mary?
Well, in my experience,
yes,
having had 4 children, I think you really, what has worked for us is valuing our alone time and making sure that was priority. It wasn't always, because we would get caught up with other things.
Just life.
And exhausted and
pushing, driving,
everything. And yes, always it's trying to achieve the higher levels. Meanwhile, the most important thing that awaits us is the relationship we have with our spouse. How much energy have we put into that relationship? And one thing we've learned after all these years of being in ministry together, working together, and I'm in my 50s and you're 60, we've realized more than ever how invaluable we are. We can't do this without one another, and we wouldn't want to. So the ebbs and flows of life, it all circles back, and the one you started with is the one you end with. Hopefully.
Right.
It's who you're doing it for. And you don't want to neglect it along the way, so that when you get to the end of that point in your life, you go, I don't even like you. There's nothing here. And to keep that romance alive, I think it has to be top of mind that it's the most important thing, more than your children.
Yeah.
Because if mom and dad aren't together and aren't happy, you can stay together, but your kids have it figured out. You're not getting along and you're struggling in your relationship. And you want to model what romance and a good, healthy mom and dad relationship look like. So we are not date night people.
Right.
We have never been. We have a date every Thursday night.
Yeah.
We grab our moments as much as we can, because we have to value that date night might not happen. Date night might turn into, for us in ministry, a funeral or a viewing or a counseling session. It can always change. So we make sure that we set aside a time for us to not reconnect, but never allow ourselves to get to that place where we don't feel connected. And there's a lot of resources on how to do that. But I think the most important value is that you realize if you don't do it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you because you didn't get splotchy. Usually when you address certain issues where you get nervous, your neck breaks out in little red splotches. Well, this is definitely...
Well, you said romance. Were we supposed to talk about sex?
This is definitely one of those subjects that we would not be able to talk about on Sunday because they're talking about the romance, keeping in the marriage. Yes, sex is a part of that.
It is.
And one thing I need, at least Monday, I need to connect with you on the romance.
Yeah.
And romance is the word for sex here.
Got it.
I need code for sex. Now
everybody's going to know what happens on Sundays.
When we pray at church and preach and sing and get drained emotionally, I need romance at that point. It's just it's a welcome release of all that is built up in me that then helps me connect with you personally. After trying to connect with God, trying to connect with people, it's so important that I get that connection time with you.
And I think that's most men.
Yep. When they go through high stress environments, it's welcomed. It's needed. And I remember a guy years ago, just because a man has a healthy sex drive, some women want to complain, oh man, it's too much. People want to make him out to be perverted almost, even as a person that has a relationship with God. How could he be so into that? Why does he need it so much? Well, every day I wake up and I eat breakfast. And then at noontime, I have lunch. And then at dinner time, I have dinner. Nobody looks at me and says, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you?
Right.
That you're hungry every so many hours. Why do you got to eat every day?
It's a healthy appetite. Absolutely.
It is a healthy appetite. So what that means is, because I appreciate that, physically speaking, I got to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And you got to take care of yourself.
Right.
If we're going to keep romance alive, the temple of the Holy Spirit.
Oh, brother. Oh, God.
Our bodies,
don't spiritualize it and make it weird.
The bodies, we want to take care of our bodies.
No, we do.
We want to look good for each other.
We do.
We have to take care of ourselves, because when we take care of ourselves, we feel good about ourselves. And that helps us when we're romantic.
You know what I think is so funny that all these years has taught us both, and has certainly taught me? What do couples usually...
You interrupted my flow, but go ahead.
Really? You look like you were coming to the... All right, go ahead. Finish. Nope. Because I lost... Did you lose it?
It's gone. It's gone. Go ahead. Now you lost yours.
I know. See, we're too old for this, Steve. You can't do that to me. I was trying to help you. I was trying to support your thought.
Ashley is blushing over in the corner right here. Oh I love this.
She's in the corner in the dark. You're learning so much, girl. No, honestly, what couples end up in the counseling rooms over is the fact that they've stopped having sex. Mm-hmm. And you've never met a couple that kept having sex and their marriage was still miserable. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. They're miserable and they stopped having sex a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't stop having sex with each other.
Yeah.
That's key. Stay connected physically, and you will stay connected emotionally and spiritually in every possible way. Does that help you? Did that get you back on the flow?
No? It's gone. But go ahead. Well, I don't want to embarrass you anymore.
I'm not embarrassed. I can handle this. But I will say that in relation to what you're saying about men not feeling ashamed of their sex drive, women, we do that, which I find very interesting. And every woman does it. What it takes to get a man, and in the beginning stages of the relationship, when kids come around and it depletes us more, and our bodies aren't necessarily for the bedroom anymore, they're for these kids and kids hanging off on you. It really does take intentionality to say, I have to make this priority because it matters to my spouse. Maybe even if it matters more to him than it does to me, I've got to make sure that he is cared for in this area.
Yeah, that's good.
And he should not be shamed for wanting to be with you.
Yeah. If the man's not eating at home, he's tempted to eat elsewhere. So it's good that you feed him good. And it's good for her that emotionally, what sex is meaning to me, what is so important about sex to me, that emotional connection with you is important to you.
Right.
You need to feel that emotional connection, that romance, that communication, feeling good, the compliments, your self-esteem, constantly working on that through the accomplishments that you have together and the compliments that are given.
Yeah.
That's important for you. So you feeling secure about life in general, money, housing, everything, the marriage, that's as important to you as sex is to me at this season. So it's a give and take. You know, we talk about, I got to eat right. I got to take care of myself. If I got to do a little tuck here, a little work there on the skin to make sure. Here. I mean, like last night, I put a little face mask on you.
That was very nice.
Just to help you with your skin.
I loved it.
I know how important that is to you.
Yeah.
And I put it on me sometimes. It doesn't look as good on me as it does you.
Hey, babe, your skin looks amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So all of that is so important because we're focusing on each other.
Yeah.
Romance is about, let me focus on you.
Oh, that's it.
And thankfully, we've also had, this is where great community and support group, friendship, and in our case, our church family, why it's so important to be connected with other people. This church family, on a number of occasions, people have stepped up and sent you and I away just to go hang out with ourselves, maybe our family, but just you and I getting alone. We go up. One of the reasons we got our farm is it helps us get away from the hustle and bustle of South Florida, from our phones, from all of that, and just be able to focus on ourselves.
That's right.
That's huge.
It is.
If we're going to keep the romance alive, which then brings me to this, another question. They're asking us about the joy of aging together. How are we keeping this fun as we age together?
Wow. I can tell you right now in the season that we're in, for me, it's probably been the funnest between you and me that we've had so far. And when we look back at the other day, we looked at our our wedding video and we looked at our honeymoon video. And I do not want to go back and be that girl. You could not pay me $1 million to go back and be that girl.
Yeah.
Because you could see in every shot where you had the camera on me constantly. I was so annoyed. I was just annoyed. It's our honeymoon. I'm like, stop. I mean, like the whole time. Oh my God, she's annoying. But this definitely is. And I thought that season was fun. I thought having kids was fun. But this season of you and me really putting each other first and finding the joy in it. And I know it's not easy for you. I know it's not always your want to. You would much rather go out into the woods and shoot something. But you definitely let me know that being with me is the most important and most fun thing that there is to do. And I believe you, you know? Yeah. And we really do work on having fun together. And part of that is certain conversations are off limits. We know where the other's buttons are, and we just don't push them.
Yeah.
So that we can enjoy the season and the time that we have together, because we are getting older. But there's such a sensation. There's like this sense of we are winning. We're one of the few that made it to the mountain because the divorce rate is so high. You know, when we tell people we've been married 34 years, you would think we told them we've been married 55 years.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge accomplishment these days, to be married a long time to the same person. And I'm so proud of that. But there is just a sense of, we made it, we made it. You know, it's Chance the Rapper sings. We're together, and we've done so much with our lives. And that just makes it like we weathered some serious storms, and we're still here together. I could cry thinking about it.
I know.
And I wouldn't want to be with anybody else but you.
Very
as
sweet.
mad as you make me sometimes, I still love you.
I know. Well, let me spiritualize something for a minute. And I hope if you're not the spiritual kind, you can put up with this comment. But there's something in the Bible. There's a story in the Bible about two brothers that wanted to be elevated to a position of popularity because they wanted to be on Jesus's right hand and on his left. And he talks to them about what that looks like. And he makes this statement. He says, let him who wants to be the greatest be a servant.
Right.
And then there is that statement that says, for the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And I told you a few weeks ago when we were on the porch as we were communicating and talking, which is what this podcast is like, us just talking in our living room on our back porch. And I told you what hit me when I read that. And so it may get a little emotional here. But I said, you know, at this season, when I read that part about the last shall be first, I really feel like at this season of my life, I've been elevated to first.
Yeah.
At 60,
I've
been elevated to first. I got a son that's 30 who's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Preached a message this weekend that was crazy. I wasn't even there to hear it, but I'll hear it this Sunday. He's just at a place where he's blowing it up. Our daughter finds that both of them find great spouses.
I sure did.
And our two younger daughters are celebrating this season of education and preparation. Lauren preparing herself for her. Oh, Alan's bringing in that tissue because we're over here.
We'll just take the whole box.
Snotting all over the place. Lauren's at a place where she's pursuing her degree and her master's, and then Gabby finishing up at FIU and then leading our youth group so well. And I just felt like that phrase, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. I felt like at this season, I've been elevated to first.
Wow.
Never felt that, Mayor. Never felt first. Sure, I may be the head of an organization and a ministry like this, but never felt first. And then I heard God stir it up in my heart. Not that God speaks to me audibly, but I felt
this impression and I saw this image. My life, I've tried to do this, though I know I'm a strong leader.
Yeah.
Some call me controlling.
So,
I know I'm a strong leader, and I know that I get in front of people and I talk and lead the charge here at the ministry. But my heart has been, how can I serve the people of this church?
Always.
How can I serve our staff?
Yeah.
How can I serve my kids? And most importantly, how can I serve you?
Yeah.
That has been my heart's desire. And I think if people would focus on that, especially couples, especially the heads of corporations in their life. But let's bring it back to marriage. If a man could focus on serving his wife, not being run over by her, not being the weaker sex.
No,
but serving.
Yeah.
Sometimes being strong in his serving. If he can work on serving his wife, serving his family, then if he'll do that, put himself as last. Even though you're taking the lead, put yourself as last. Be sensitive to that. Doesn't always have to be your way. You don't always have to be number one.
That's right.
You don't always have to have the biggest Instagram or social media following. You don't always have to have the best number one song. You don't have to be able to preach the best and have the most popular sermon or the biggest and the best church. Don't always push to be number one just for the sake of being saying, first. Look what I've done, and being first. If you can focus on how can I at this season of my life serve my clients, serve my customers, serve my church, serve my family. If you'll do that and remain in a posture of strong humility, one day you're going to wake up and say, oh my gosh, at the latter years of my life, I'm feeling first.
Wow.
So with you and I think the way that we have been able to keep this fun and enjoy each other in our marriage.
In our aging,
is we really have focused, especially as we've gotten older, on how can I serve Mary? How can I serve Steve?
Absolutely.
And babe, I've seen that in you. Because I've seen your what used to be irritants when we were younger, and you'd come out and we'd have big arguments about something or be bothered and ignore each other, give each other the silent treatment, or want to disappear for an hour or two, take off and slam the door. I've seen those things when you would have been tempted to do it, you didn't.
Right.
You backed off.
Yeah.
Because you were like, wait a minute, this isn't about me right now.
That's right.
Of course, it's taken 34 years.
It took a long time.
But we just didn't make the mistake of quitting 2 years, 5 years, 10 years into this thing.
Because divorce was never an option.
It was a temptation. It was
temptation
a thought.
And option are not the same. There are thoughts and there are days where you think.
And there was no reason for divorce, but just because you're mad angry. And hurt and disappointed.
That's
and
right.
You wonder what tomorrow's going to, you entertain, my life would be better without.
Oh, absolutely. Or what would my life be like without them? Would it be better? But when you really understand that the power of your relationship and the power of a healthy marriage is serving one another, and really what that looks like, that whole, the last shall be first, the first shall be last, your marriage will become first. It will naturally have a propensity at the latter season of your life, which the truth is, we still have a lot more years to live.
Yes,
my mother used to say, when I would get irritated with the kids making noise and being in the house, she'd say, well, take it easy on them because there's a whole lot of years without them in the house than there are with them in the house. And when you're in the middle of that, you cannot even comprehend it. Of course, here we are, we've still got two at home, but they're never home. And the reality of that is true. You better nurture the Mr. and Mrs., nurture one another so that when you get to this season of aging, you're each other's best friend. Mm-hmm. You can't imagine doing it without the other one. Because I really can't. And I'm watching God do in you because you did have a service first mindset. You always have, whether it was misinterpreted by some, that was always your driving force to serve. And now in our relationship, it's so easy. Our marriage is so easy. And sometimes our kids will look at us and want that, but we explain to them, you work for it, you serve your way to this place. Mm-hmm. And it makes it look easy, but it's because we did the hard stuff.
34 years in the making.
And we did it. We stayed together.
Yep, and wouldn't change it, because now we can sit here at a podcast table, talk about how to do it, and hopefully inspire others to just find the right one, hang in there.
Fight the good fight.
Work hard together.
That's right.
That's good. And embrace the ups and the downs, the disappointments, the highs, the celebration moments. Yeah. All of that. Keep a relationship with God in place. Stay connected to the local church.
Yeah.
Find good pastors that you can follow.
Find the village.
And watch how life could really treat you well.
Amen.
So we hope today's questions and the answers that we have given you have been an encouragement. So thank you for joining us today on the Alessi Family Business Podcast.